Today we perform a four-wheel drift into the glamorous and exciting and often dangerous world of Formula One, and muse upon one of the strangest events in the sport's history, the kidnapping of one of its greatest heroes, Juan Manuel Fangio. Born in 1911 in Argentina to Italian immigrant parents, he grew up in modest circumstances and began working as a mechanic's apprentice at the tender age of 11. His early career was spent competing in modified road cars in Argentina's demanding long-distance races, where he developed his legendary relaxed smoothness of touch and mechanical sympathy. He didn't compete in his first Grand Prix until 1948, when he was already 37 years old, an age when most racing drivers were retiring, or, sadly, long dead. Despite his late start, Fangio dominated Formula One during the 1950s. These were the days when they wore little more than inflammable polo shirts and no seatbelts. Figuring it was safer to be thrown out of a crashing car, although fiercely competitive, he was a quiet, humble soul. Someone totally relaxed behind the wheel, making hustling a growling, shuddering, thundering V12 Ferrari or Maserati look like he was just out for a gentle Sunday drive. A teammate, unable to fathom Fangio's speed, decided to observe from one of Monza's most difficult corners to see if he could learn anything by watching the master at work. Far from witnessing a white-knuckle ride, as Fangio roared past centimetres from the barrier, he calmly waved at his bemused teammate. 1995, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Formula One's #1 superstar was nearing the end of his life when he had an unexpected visitor. The frail Fangio immediately recognized him and summoned all his strength to lean forward and whisper, "Ah, no, Cuba." For indeed it was in Cuba where Fangio and Arnold Rodriguez had first met some 40 years earlier. Only that time the legendary motor racing star was staring down the barrel of his revolver. So, we're in Cuba's capital, Havana, and it is 1958. The repressive Batista government or regime that had seized power in a coup d'etat some 5 years earlier were looking forward to the international kudos that would follow the imminent Grand Prix race about to be held at Havana's brand new gladiatorial-esque street circuit. Massive crowds had converged upon the capital, all hoping to catch a glimpse of their Latin American hero, Fangio. But Castro's rebels had other ideas. By 1958, the aging Argentinian had won 4 Formula One World Championships, and the following year he was to win his 5th, a record that wasn't surpassed until nearly half a century later. The practice day before the Cuban Grand Prix had gone well for him, and he was in his hotel lobby happily signing autographs when, instead of a pen, a nervous-looking youth produced a pistol.
"I am from the July Revolutionary Movement. If you move, I shoot. You must come with us."
"You want me to come, but if I move, you'll shoot?"
Juan was bundled into the back seat of a waiting car. He calmly told the men to put the guns down as he would offer no resistance, and, disarmed by his manner, the kidnappers complied. What happened next can only be described as a total farce. A second car was meant to follow behind to protect them from Batista's men and the police, but it refused to start. When they finally got the old car moving, the student rebel was so nervous that he crashed into another that was pulling out. Meanwhile, Juan was driven by his captors through the streets of Havana, but they suddenly stopped outside a house in a quiet suburb. Was this the kidnapper's safe house where he's going to be held hostage? No. One of the kidnapper's sons was a huge fan of Juan and wanted an autograph, which Juan dutifully supplied. He was then taken to a second house full of Castro's rebels. Far from being tied up and gagged, they all actually got along. Throughout the evening they explained that they were the members of Fidel Castro's revolutionary 26th of July movement. and he felt instinctively great sympathy for them, as most of them were just young, idealistic students incensed by the repression, the torture, corruption and murder of their friends and relatives under the Batista regime. Juan asked if he could telephone his family to say that he was all right, and they dutifully supplied him with a phone. The next morning, the kidnappers showed Juan the newspapers which reported on the enormous manhunt that was underway for him. They even watched the Grand Prix on the television with him. And as tragedy struck on the track, it began to dawn on Juan that these kidnappers may have actually saved his life. A Ferrari driven by a rookie skidded on oil and ploughed into the crowd, killing 6 and injuring 30. He turned to his captors and said, "Perhaps in the long run, I will have to thank you." As the night drew on, Juan's captors wondered how they could best go about setting him free. They got the publicity they wanted, so what was the point of keeping him any longer? But it dawned on them that their benevolent captive might actually be safer with them than if he was released. An informant within the government had let them know that Batista and his henchmen were planning to kill him and blame it on the murderous rebels. They put this potential scenario to Juan, and he suggested that the best idea would be to release him to the Argentinian ambassador in Havana. They all agreed, and as they packed up to leave, he kindly said his goodbyes and asked for one of the movement's flags as a memento. In the dead of night, his captors took him to the Argentinian embassy. The staff were not surprisingly angry at the rebels for endangering the life of their biggest global star. But Juan just smiled and said, "Gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my friends, my kidnappers." Indeed, Castro's rebels had got what they wanted. The affair was as much of an acute embarrassment to the Batista regime as it was a boost for Castro's followers, who would eventually overthrow the government. It was also a boon for Fangio, as he became a megastar in the American papers and on the TV show circuit. But far more important, though, was that his kidnapping may have saved his life. He could have been a part of that racist, terrible accident, and at 47, with 4 world titles to his name, maybe it was time to hang up his helmet and retire, which, after adding 1 more championship to his name, he did. Buenos Aires, 1995. And Fangio's special visitor, his former kidnapper Arnold Rodriguez, who had fought alongside Castro and Che Guevara and had eventually become the country's foreign minister and Fangio's friend. Arnold, Cuba. Arnold later commented, "He not only forgave us, he understood us." Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this gripping yarn. Please like, subscribe, please comment, and take care till next time.